So, what would happen if you brought your e-bike on the Amtrak? E-bikes are awesome, especially for running around town, doing some local errands, or for just having some fun. But even on your best day with a full battery and perfect riding conditions, you're probably only limited to about 50 miles. And life at some point may give you a reason to venture outside of that. And that's where the Amtrak comes in. It's an interesting way to cover some more ground while still enjoying the freedom and flexibility of your e-bike while on your travels. I've taken my e-bike on the Amtrak about a dozen times this past summer. Through a bit of trial and error, I've learned some helpful tips along the way. And that's why I'm here, to share with you what I've learned in case you ever wondered what would happen if you brought your e-bike on the Amtrak. I actually have a train to catch. I can't keep going back. Really out here in the middle of traffic. Ooh, it's supposed to be cloudy today. On your left, coming on your left. Pardon me, thank you. Keep going, guys. So many people. But we made it. Before we jump into it, a quick disclaimer. I'm currently riding the Vermonter, which is an Amtrak line that connects Washington, D.C. with Vermont, passing through major cities like New York City and Philadelphia before ending up in the Green Mountains. So that means I can only speak to my experiences on the Vermonter, so your experiences may vary based on the train line, the company, or even your country. And for even more context, my bike is the Trek Verve Plus 3 in size XL. It's a pretty big and heavy electric bike. So if you were thinking about taking your bike on the Amtrak, if I can do it with this, you probably can do it with yours too. Now, what I find the general rule to be is that if your e-bike looks like a bike, it gets treated like a bike. And if it looks more like a motorcycle, you might have some extra roadblocks to get through. So what happens when the train arrives? Getting on can be tricky, but not impossible. When the train pulls in, I find an attendant who can point me to the nearest bike rack. Since this train comes on a platform, you can roll it right on, and if not, the attendant will help you navigate the steps. It's not as pretty, but it gets the job done. Once you're on board, be prepared for your handlebars to get snagged on everything from seat backs to random train parts. Just try not to hit anyone as you shimmy and maneuver through the aisle. So you're on. Now where do you put the bike? Folding bikes are a breeze. You can store them just like you would regular luggage. And while I haven't boxed up and checked on a bike myself, I imagine it takes some planning, a special box, and maybe a hand from the attendant. As for my experience, here's what to know about the bike racks. First, you must reserve your spot ahead of time. Those spots will fill up as your departure day approaches, especially because it's not that expensive. For the Vermonter, bringing on a bike is only an extra $10 round trip. Next, you'll need to remove the front tire. It's always smart to carry the tools you need whenever you're going anywhere with your bike, but making sure you've got what you need to take off that front tire is really important because it's required and it does help fully stow away the bike. Once I've taken off the tire, I place it on the floor beneath the rack, then lift the back tire onto the hook rack and let it hang gently. Once you get it in all the way, there's usually a lever to keep it secure during the ride. Double check that it's set and then just grab a seat nearby. Quick pro tip, take your time and be mindful, and if you did need some help, an attendant will assist you.
So now that you're on the train, what's next? So I only started taking the Amtrak over the last few months or so, and I've traveled hundreds of miles by car, plane, RV, foot, but I've got to say the Amtrak so far has been a favorite. First off, for a long distance trip, it's pretty affordable. For the round trip ticket plus the bike, it only costs around $100. The seats are way more spacious and comfortable than anything you can find on a bus, train, or even a car. Plus it comes with outlets and Wi-Fi, although the connection can be spotty bit at times in the rural areas. There are bathrooms too, nothing really fancy. Think what you would find on a normal airplane. And overall, the experience has been pretty smooth without too many unreasonable delays. But the best part is I can work on the train. Compared to the plane where you don't really have Wi-Fi or I'm not really in the mood to work. And in the car and bus, I get nauseous if I'm staring at a screen for too long. So the train is the only place where I can treat a travel day like a work day. So 6 hours have gone by. Now what? As I approach the destination, an attendant usually gives me a friendly reminder to get the bike ready. And when we're about one stop away, I get up and start putting it back together. At this time, I reverse the boarding on process. I take off the lever, I take the back tire off the hook, and I put my front wheel back on. It can be a bit of a dance if there are people moving around, but it's manageable. And this time around, it's best to aim to get off first. It's way easier to get everything ready early, grab a spot in line, and miss out on wrestling through the incoming crowd. And here's a really, really, really important tip. It's easy to leave behind your things when you're in the travel hustle. During my first trip on the Amtrak, I left my helmet on board. So make sure just to do a quick double check, make sure all your things are together, or just clip them all on you to make sure you don't forget anything on the train because it's not stopping. It's not pulling a U-turn so you can get your helmet back.
So, what happens when you arrive? Now that you're at your destination, you get to start having some fun. E-biking is a great way to explore a new city. You'll feel like a local, skip any additional costs that come from Ubering or bringing a car, and you get to see the sights very up close and personal. So, if life takes you somewhere connected by train, or if you're just ready for your next adventure, bringing your e-bike on the Amtrak is a great way to get to where you need to go and discover what's out there. If you have any questions, please let me know, and feel free to share your e-bike stories, Amtrak stories, or anything about your travels. And other than that, I hope you are getting to where you need to go safely, mindfully, and enjoyably. Thank you so much for watching.